Arsenal talks have been held. Guys, this is one of the stories that you expect every summer transfer window. Even when Mohammed Kudus was still at Ajax, he was linked to Arsenal. You all know to it that Arsenal once went in for him in the summer of 2023. And you know what happened? They had really spent a lot of money. They had brought in Declan Rice. They had brought in Kai Havertz. And for those two transfers, they had gone ahead to spend close to 180 million pounds, and they couldn't obviously go in for Mohammed Kudus, though they later went in for Julian Timber. So this time around, he's back in the news. Arsenal look like they want to get in a player who can obviously compete with Bukayo Saka on the right attacking side of the midfield. Now, Lewandowski has come up and obviously busted that he's not going to be playing for Poland again if at all something doesn't change, meaning that he has paused his activities for the national team. And Thomas Frank has agreed to become the new Tottenham Hotspur manager after Ange Postecoglou was sacked. Smash the like button, comment and share. If at all you're watching us for the very first time, endeavor to subscribe to this channel so as not to miss out on stories that we do upload in here on a daily. Lower right bottom corner is the place to go, and smash that black button that has the word subscribe. After smashing it, hit the notification bell, and the rest will be history because you want to hit 30,000 subscribers. Guys, let's continue subscribing. In this summer transfer window is the best where we can go to 50,000, and I think you're enjoying the level at which I'm obviously broadcasting you the stories, and I think you people are really enjoying them to the fullest. Now, who were the first to obviously drop this story? Credible source from West Ham, and he's known as the ex-West Ham employee. This is the most reliable source if at all you want to hear anything coming in through from West Ham, and they've told us that Arsenal are considering a move for Mohammed Kudus. Newcastle and Chelsea are also interested. Kudus wants to stay in Europe, preferably in the Premier League. Now, let's first discuss Arsenal before we go to Newcastle and Chelsea also interested in the player. We all know to it that Arsenal wanted to sign Bryan Mbeumo, and Bryan Mbeumo rejected Arsenal, Tottenham Hotspur, Newcastle, and Nottingham because he felt like he had to go to Manchester United. Though the deal hasn't gone ahead to come through, he's leaning all his Man United leaning. That's Bryan Mbeumo for you. And why did Arsenal want Bryan Mbeumo? They wanted to bring in a person who could act as an understudy of Bukayo Saka. And for Bryan Mbeumo and the kind of season he really had at the club of Brentford, there is no way he could obviously come in through to be an understudy for Bukayo Saka, because he even scored more goals than Saka, and I think for the assists they went ahead obviously be at level terms. So he said, I'm gonna be playing for the club of Manchester United. Now Arsenal are looking in for a multi-dimensional player who can play in various positions of the attacking midfield, and this is where they get into Mohammed Kudus. Kudus has gone ahead to flourish ever since he came in the Premier League, and he is really putting in numbers. In his first season at West Ham, Mohammed Kudus went ahead to play 33 games in the Premier League, 8 goals and 6 assists. And this season that has just ended, 32 games, 5 goals and 3 assists from Mohammed Kudus in there for you. So, in the season of 2023 and 24, when he played in what we call the UEFA Europa League, 9 games, 5 goals he scored. And that season, Mohammed Kudus was on fire. Now, Arsenal comes in through to obviously try to convince him to come and join them. And I think for Mohammed Kudus, it's really going to be easy if at all Arsenal really take that big step to sign him, because he knows to it that he can play in various positions. Kudus can play as a right forward, where Bukayo Saka plays. He can play as a left forward, where a player known as Martinelli Trossard play. He can do the Martin Odegaard role, the number 10 role. He can do the Declan Rice role. He can play as a number 8. He can also play as a false number 9. He can lead that line too. So he is a multifunctional player, and I think he can look at this and really understand that when you look at Martin Odegaard, however, my Ethan Waneri is there, but I can obviously come and really get more minutes because Odegaard has been playing very many minutes at Arsenal, and he needs someone to obviously help him carry that burden. And Kudus might be seeing himself in that picture that can come in through and obviously carry the burden of Martin Odegaard. So we are waiting to see how that pans out, but I believe Arsenal would have wanted to get them a very good player, as they suffered a lot last season when Saka was really away. They lacked a player who can obviously do what Saka does. And imagine having a Saka off and a Mohammed Kudus on in the game of PSG. Don't you think that things change to the fullest? Because all these are really game changers. And Kudus has a very huge work rate. If you're looking at that player who will obviously run from the minute the referee puts the whistle to his mouth until when he obviously calls the match to an end, it's Mohammed Kudus. He's a modern player, and the other factor that you need to understand is that he comes through from Africa. You understand? And I've always told you that there are 3 teams that I've always gone ahead to be on the minds of African football players. That is Manchester United, Chelsea, and Arsenal. And for Chelsea and Arsenal, they really echo, or their names echo a lot into the heads of African players, because I think they're the best 2 teams that are really gonna hate obviously give African players chance to obviously be there. For example, Arsenal, you can talk about Nwankwo Kanu, Kolo Toure. You can talk about Lauren Maya. You can talk about players like Gavinho, Pepe, Flamini, not Flamini, El Nini, Adebayo. Very many African players have gone ahead to feature at the club of Arsenal, if you've been following up onto that side of Arsenal. And for Chelsea, oh my God, I think they had, was it Mbami? There is this right Cameroonian that played there on the right. You can talk about Obi Mikel. Talk about Celestine Babayaro, who used to play as the left back at Chelsea. You can talk about Didier Drogba, Kanoti. Very many African players have gone here to feature at the club of Chelsea. Eduardo Mendy, Khalidi Koulibaly. So, if you grew up in an atmosphere where a team is really welcoming African players, I think in your mind you are like, I have to obviously take a step and really play there. So Mohammed Kudus to Arsenal is a deal that we have to look at and see whether it obviously comes to pass. Now, we also have another update about this deal. And the man behind it goes by names of Sebastian Vidal. He has come up and he works for Mercato. He has told us that Arsenal have held talks with West Ham over Mohammed Kudus. The Ghanaian wants European football and could leave despite his £80 million release clause. Arsenal hope to strike a deal around 55 to 60 million euros. Kudus is on Arteta's shortlist of attacking targets. Now, Arsenal is doing all what they can do in their feet to get in another functional player. But I think the price, West Ham want £80 million, but Arsenal look like they can go north of £50 million. So, I think it's obviously going to be hard for Arsenal to convince West Ham to really buy this player, but they really have a very good relationship because they sold Declan Rice to Arsenal, and I think they can really do the negotiations and see how this deal comes to pass. But European football is key, and that's why you see to it that Chelsea, Newcastle are into the queue to sign the player, as they are also playing in Europe. Chelsea, I repeat, Chelsea want a wide forward. But my worry is, if you're having Estavo coming in through, you're having Madueke and Pedro Neto, why Mohammed Kudus? Is it because he's a malfunctional player that they're 100% sure he's going to come up and obviously put in a very big shift through the middle on the left? He can also lead the line, and they need super quality in there. For Newcastle, obviously, ever since their right attacking midfielder really left, I tend to forget the name of that guy, you know. Let me try. Let me try to obviously. All right, let me try to get. Is it Amorim? Amorin? What's his name? Miguel Almiron, right? Ever since they let Miguel Almiron go, I think they haven't gone ahead to obviously find a perfect replacement for him. And I think that's why they wanted Mbeumo, and he decided to go to Manchester United. And they are now at Mohammed Kudus. Now, this bidding war, this will obviously escalate into a bidding war, and it will work in favor of West Ham. If you've been following up on them lately, it will work on them hugely, because when you look at West Ham, they want £80 million. If Chelsea, Newcastle and Arsenal are really fighting for the signature of Mohammed Kudus, guess what will happen? You know, they will obviously get that money, because these teams are really fighting for the signature of this youngster coming in through from Ghana. So that's what you're having through from Mohammed Kudus. Arsenal have held talks, and they are really positive. And Arsenal has been tracking this player. No reason as to why you don't really look at this. In the past 3 summers, and Arsenal even once went ahead, obviously, try to agree personal terms with Kudus before they really pulled out, because they never had money to spend. And in even that season, they found themselves in a position of getting in a player on a loan. That is David Raya. So that is it for the side of Mohammed Kudus to Arsenal. And let's get to their London rival, Tottenham Hotspur, who went ahead to sack their manager, Ange Postecoglou, after winning them the European Cup, that is the UEFA Europa League. And I was like, who does that? Who does that? For all years, you've gone ahead to be trophyless, and this man comes in through, takes you to the Champions League, and you sack him. I think something was not going on well in between him and Daniel Levy. That is it. But winning a trophy keeps you at the club. You even remember in 2022-2023 season, when West Ham performed badly, but they played in the final and they won under David Moyes, and they kept him not until the season started, and they sacked him. So I don't know why Daniel Levy went ahead to do this. It still baffles me. That's what I'll tell you. It baffles me, and it beats my understanding why they went ahead to make a decision of really sacking a man who went ahead to win them the trophy, you know, that took even them to the Champions League and brought them a lot of money in there. Now, we have a story coming in through from the Sun Sport that Thomas Frank has now agreed to become the new Tottenham Hotspur manager following talks over the weekend. The Brentford boss is close to being appointed as Ange Postecoglou's replacement at the club. Now, unless otherwise you tell me that he really has a different style of play of football that we haven't gone ahead to watch, but if we are to depend on how he has been playing at Brentford, I don't think his style of play suits Tottenham Hotspur. The article that was put out by Tottenham Hotspur when they sacked Ange Postecoglou was that he went ahead to bring them back to their philosophy of football that they used to play. Because for me, ever since I started watching Spurs, I think under Martin Jol, they've been a tiki-taka, you know. They've been a possession-based side that plays some beautiful football, you know. And I think ever since Pochettino left, and I think they brought in, is it Jose Mourinho, Nuno Espirito Santo, they brought in Antonio Conte, I think all those had gone ahead to really not bring out the best of the best in a player. Sorry, in a team known as Spurs. Not until Ange came in through and he brought in his tiki-taka. So we are waiting to see whether Thomas Frank will obviously bring the tiki-taka back will resume with the tiki-taka of Ange Postecoglou. But he's a very good coach. And why is he a very good coach? Because he has been on the short list of teams like Manchester United and Chelsea, especially last year when they wanted to bring in new managers. So that shows you that he is a good coach and he's a Premier League, but he's in the Premier League. And I think he has gone ahead to make a very good move that I think is really very calculative. As I told you, that Graham Potter went ahead to make a very big mistake from Brighton to Chelsea. All he needed to do was get from Brighton, get a team like West Ham or Aston Villa, Tottenham Hotspur, and then go to the big team. I think Thomas Frank is going to be the huge beneficiary from this because he's a very good coach, But the problem is, will he match the demands of Tottenham Hotspur? That is the most important bit of it all. But he's a very good manager, and I think his trajectory in coaching is really great. So wait and see how that happens, but he's really putting in a very big shift in there. Now, Lewandowski Roberts has come out and obviously pulled out of the national team. And he says he won't play for Poland again as long as the Poland coach, Michel Probedes, is in charge. Now, he is the captain of this national team. We all know that. And if he pulls out like that, that means something is wrong in the camp. And we don't know the real cause of this, but I know in the near future, we'll obviously come up with the best answer. Why? I don't want to speculate, especially when I'm really doing such stories. I obviously want to be on point and really bring you the best of the best that you people really deserve in here. So Robert Lewandowski has announced that he'll not play for Poland again. And I think this is good news for the side of Barcelona, because if you are Barcelona and you're having a player who is like Lewandowski, right, who went ahead to obviously put in a very huge show in their campaign to win the league, playing 34 games, scoring 27 goals with 2 assists, his ever best scoring La Liga season for the side of Barcelona. If you add on the Champions League, 13 games, 11 goals, you understand, those are 38. You add on the Super Copa de España, 1 goal in there. So that shows you that he scored close to 40 goals this season. He's 36 years of age, and if at all you feel like you want to get the best from him, he should not be playing national team football. You understand? So I think the biggest beneficiaries are Barcelona, because he will come in through rest. They're not playing the FIFA Club World Cup. He's going to be having a very good holiday. He'll come in all in shape to see to it that he represents for the national team. That is it. So that's what I had for you in here onto the Rokani Media Football. Mohammed Kudus to Arsenal transfer talks held, and they look like Arsenal is really pushing to get in this guy as soon as possible. And I call upon for your reactions into the comment section below. But Arsenal is still looking at Rodrigo on the list, Nico Williams on the list, is it Yalidiz on the list? They're having like 5-6 players that they're really looking at, and I think this is gonna take me to opening up a new channel that really does these the football top 5s, 10s, and it should be the football top 5s, 10s, and lifestyle channel, as I tell you the top 5 wide forwards Arsenal are really targeting and looking at. I think that will make some huge sense. I think I should start that today. I'm going to be opening that channel today and hope you guys will enjoy it to the fullest. We out. Bye-bye. Happy Heroes Day for all you happen to come from my country. Bye-bye.